We have to do sports because it is the hot thing right now to do sports. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Victor Allen's own neo-urban look at sports. Hot, sexy. And here's the man that the ladies have nicknamed Sexual Chocolate. Here's Vick.
You know, why do you do that? Why?
Ever since that's your nickname.
It's not going to help as a nickname.
It may. I'm trying to get to all the followings.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work.
What about that new calendar you're supposed to be bringing out for the fans?
No.
See, I'm starting these rumors of this part of New Sports, but Victor Allen, the host, the producer, the director, he's going to be doing his own sports calendar.
That's cool.
When he dresses up like in different sports outfits.
That's right. All right, you guys, welcome to New Sports. I know I keep forgetting that when we do a broadcast, we have to go right to video. And we want to ask some questions because it's always an NFL weekend. And I'm going to say this right offhand. For the next 13 weeks coming up, priority is going to be football. Can you think of a sport that's not just going to fade at all? It's going to be with us for a while. And it's going to lead me to a question that I want to find out following up with Michael Vick, which I think everybody was saying. You know, Michael Vick is this mobilizing force, an athlete, controversial to some.
Yes.
At the same time, a fan to others, and then also an example of what could be. Well, the question is really about, can the Philadelphia Eagles really stay on top? Were they overrated or overhyped? And we asked that question before. So the question becomes, to me, more, can Michael Vick sustain the level of his style of play to keep the Eagles, I would say, at least in the top 10 teams in the NFL. Now, most people are going to ask, the question, well, they are in the top 10. Well, Mario, I actually sat there and thought about it and said, when you look at the style of play that Vick, it's not reckless, but he takes too many hits. So we already know he cannot sustain punishment this long.
He can learn, though. He can learn. I think Vick, I think he's certain. Okay, I think everyone would say he's playing wiser.
Right.
I think everyone would say that. Even I think folks are really amazed that he's shown his ability to sit in the pocket and do. I think he has to remind himself, because he's so gifted and skilled, that I think in so many instances it's his natural tendencies to take over and do other things, which is part of his greatness. It's a fine line. You like it if he ad-libs and runs a touchdown,
right?
But you don't like it if he throws an interception. So my thing is this: I think he's already shown improvement and growth. Hopefully, he'll play even smarter still with time.
Well, look, if you actually see Michael Vick actually coming off the field of the team he formerly used to, work for, or play for, and he's spitting up blood, then the prognosis...
Well, he spit out a little blood.
It came up.
Well, it was in his mouth. He got hit in the mouth.
He could have got hit back down there in the middle of his throat.
I'm just saying, it sounds a lot more ominous if he's spitting up blood.
All right, he's spitting out blood.
He got hit in the mouth. He's got a cut lip.
The example is that you're not supposed to take your flashpoint player and put him in that. They're not going to survive if he has to continually play and take that many hits.
Well, the hit that made him bleed in his mouth was actually
from his own player.
From his own player, so,
Right. Well, see, here's the part that's coming into question. You got to compare him to the top cat. You got to go Tom Brady. He stays within the zone and is allowed to be efficient and effective. And because of that, he avoids sustaining injury, although Tom Brady did get hit low in the legs over the weekend with San Diego. So here's my question still, coming back. There are a certain amount of undefeated teams. There are at least 7, 3. I believe. There's undefeated. There's more. There's a list.
Okay, of undefeated?
Undefeated.
NFL.
Yes, NFL teams.
That are 2-0. I thought it was just 3.
No. Like I'm saying, just go look at them. The part is, and I'll go down the list for you because these are teams that got a good start. And then you look at the good starts right under the graphic. If you look at the teams, there's Washington Redskins, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, New York Jets, and Houston Texans. So that puts 7 teams that's right now undefeated. Now, before I go to the remaining 3, because somebody's going to say, we only gave you 7 teams that's undefeated. I said, of course I did. But could you take any of these teams? They're all playing exceptionally well. And Washington is one of those teams that just really came out of the blue and is playing well. Well, if you're 1-1, are you better than any of the teams that's undefeated? Now, Mario, I know you're probably going to say it all.
I just think it's too early to say this, really say the significance of it all.
True.
So, I think because there's some contenders in this list,
right,
and there's some pretenders.
And now you're going right.
List.
Now you're going right to my question.
There's some contenders and there's some pretenders.
Let's go to the top of the list, and you tell me who's pretending, because I'm saying here they're all playing well.
Okay, well, let me say this, because actually, when I say the pretender, it's actually giving them a negative that they don't deserve.
That's right.
Because it's just that we don't believe they're going to be able to sustain. Washington Redskins is one. I'm pleased with what they're doing. I don't think they're going to be able to sustain. I think Detroit is a true contender.
Right.
Green Bay is a true contender.
Right.
I think Buffalo is going to do well. They just won't be able to sustain this.
Right.
This level.
Right.
New England Patriots, a true contender. Jets, a true contender. Houston, once again. They are an improved team, but they're not going to sustain this. They're not going to. Okay. How long do you expect Houston to go undefeated? Same thing with Washington,
right,
or Buffalo. How many? The other ones different. Okay,
right.
We know, and even the other ones,
right.
I don't expect to go undefeated,
right.
But at least I consider them true contenders. The Redskins, the Houston Texans. The Buffalo Bills, they're not true contenders to me.
Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to say is that it's too early, of course. But let me just say this. Based on what people were thinking, they took and ran with Vince Young's quote of course, here's this dream team. That's not the case.
By the way, he hasn't played, by the way.
I know that. I know that. That's a very good point, Mario. Very good point. That's cool. Come on, man. Vince is good.
We'll talk about that later. Coming up.
Vince is good.
That's another story.
That's another story.
Lack of Kafka, whatever.
Hey, look. Here's the thing that I'm saying. I'm looking at Philadelphia as a team. And look, Atlanta, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say because once Michael got knocked out of the game, they were up by 10 points. They lose the game. Okay, the defense is still suspect.
Oh, yes.
So I'm saying this. The teams that we're looking at right now in the undefeated group have very strong defenses.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying.
But they can't be beaten, even though this shows you what strength means today, right, Vick?
I know that.
Because you're right, but does anyone think that you can't run against New England? They have a strong defense, but it's already been proven.
Right.
You can run against them.
Right.
You can run against the Jets.
Right.
You can run against, Detroit is the one you're wondering. But all the other ones, it's interesting, but there are no overwhelming teams where it comes to offense and defense this year.
Well, see, the part that I'm looking at is that Tom Brady makes the players that he have around him better. Vick has to do the same thing. He already has talent. And if he already has talent, then the first thing they were talking about is the weapons they have. Now, the weapons are mostly on offense, but it was no secret that they needed to shore up some defense. As I look at these teams, I give all of these teams equal. I would say there's no team of this undefeated group right now they will be heavily favored over. I see no team. I wouldn't say Washington because the way they play, they're fast, they got defense. Detroit, Green Bay, Buffalo has proved that they can come back and score. Maybe that's
got to start rethinking how you rate people, right?
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. I look at New England, which is no joke. I go, no joke. New York Jets shutting down defense. That defense is no joke on there. And then Houston Texans going, look, we're a scoring machine and we have better defense. So I'm looking at Michael Vick to say there may be a question. You're definitely not in the top 5. Maybe have the talent on paper, but I think you're flirting with being out of the top 10. Somewhere in the higher order of 8th, 9th, 10th, but these teams right here will put up a great game because they got packaged defense.
Sure, even though we have to also acknowledge, though, especially when you look at this list, that there's a bunch of 1-1 people
17
that are expected to be.
Right.
In other words, this list, if you notice, does not contain everybody.
Nope.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nope.
Baltimore Ravens.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying.
So that's the whole thing. Dallas Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying. So are they within the top 10? And
I think they still are. But this is what Vick and I actually. Some people don't like it. I think we're celebrating it, just like we did the NBA.
Right.
It's a changing of the guards, kind of. You have a number of teams now who are stepping up, who haven't been really there.
Right.
They are legitimate. Atlanta looks totally legit.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Even though they're not 2-0, just what they bring as the team. So it's a different time, and you're going to see a reshuffling
That's right.
of the powerhouses.
Well, yeah, and the one thing I like about what they said earlier, as we go on to the next topic here, is that there's more of an even playing field because the lack of practice in preseason practices up until the preseason started. So there are teams that may be showing you weaknesses, but then when they get themselves rolling, they're going to be good. It's like Pittsburgh. No matter what anybody says, they may not go to the Super Bowl, but you're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers the way they are. You're going to do it. Now, Baltimore, showing you a lesson of we got excited about Pittsburgh, but we didn't get excited about what, Tennessee?
Well, this is the year, no offense, that it's already sort of looking clear.
Right.
That Baltimore is the class of that division over Pittsburgh.
Right.
It sort of looks clear.
But they have to prove that to Tennessee, since Tennessee came in and said, well, you must not be that good, or Pittsburgh just didn't bring their A game.
Well, we will see.
Right. So it's still early. It's just week 2. Now, let me go over to why I think I can picture Tony Romo right now being in the locker room. No, his shower. After the game, after everybody's left. And he says, I am the Redeemer. Okay, so I'm just saying, Tony Romo was the topic. One of the main topics, if not the main topic, of the faux pas of the fourth quarter. Well, tell me, did he redeem himself from broken ribs, comes out and throws over 300 yards, Mario, and leads his team to come back and win against the San Francisco Giants? Has he been redeemed?
No.
Let me ask again. Has he been redeemed?
No. They make it to me, no offense. And I like Tony Romo.
Right.
But, man, Vic, how they are jumping all over this like he just proved his everything and all the past is forgotten and forgiven.
Right.
It ain't all that. It was a solid performance. I always thought he had heart.
But he had broken ribs.
He had
Have you ever played with broken ribs?
No, he had a cracked rib. I'm not saying that's all commendable. Muhammad Ali fought a fight with a broken jaw. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying that still doesn't make me a believer because I still need, what do I mostly need from Romo? Consistency. That means I can't get it in one game.
All right.
He can have he's totally capable of having a Brady-esque game.
Okay.
He can have great games.
All right.
But will he have, you know what?
What?
Let's see him put 2 together in a row. I mean, I really want 3, right?
Right.
I really want 3 to say something, right?
Right.
But hey, let's see him put together 2 in a row.
Did he needed this game, and actually this story really made it better. Let me just say this.
They're searching for this story.
Right. If he didn't have the broken ribs and he won this game just straight out, would it have the same impact as him having the broken ribs, going out of the game, coming back and winning?
No, because of the whole issues about his toughness.
Right.
But to me, no offense, I have him and Donovan standing in the same corner. Okay,
my quarterback.
Yeah, they gotta.
That's my quarterback.
They're gonna have to perform. That's right. They're gonna have to do some performing. Right now they suspect, and I need to before I will. I am really worried about Donovan McNabb and Tony Romo because even with this, Vic, people have short memories. If he doesn't put together a consistent 2 or 3 games, they're going to forget all this.
Right. Okay, but he has a reprieve at least right now.
They wanted to give him a reprieve anyway. Look at his owner.
Right.
Everybody's it's amazing. Obviously, people like this guy.
Right.
You can tell when they like people because they go out of their way to not say anything bad. The owner, everybody, even the people who remark about the owner, they're all saying, wow, the boy, Jerry Jones, really? And the coach, they really stood up for him. Wow. Right. But at the same time, they don't turn around and criticize.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Okay, let's just say that he doesn't get redeemed. Is it better to have a bad Tony Romo than it is the best John Kitna?
I don't know. John Kitna has some history. He did, he actually did okay.
Well, okay,
he did reasonably well.
Okay,
in
doesn't work with Dallas, man.
But he did a reasonably strong performance. So I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know if a bad anybody today, But let's just say,
all right,
I don't think Romo has to worry about his starting job from Kitna.
Well, I'm cheering for Tony Romo. Because that's the self-proclaimed.
I'm not rooting for Dallas.
I know.
Are you rooting for Dallas?
Dallas represents America's team.
But are you rooting for Dallas? Because you're rooting for Romo.
You know what? I'm not really rooting against them, Mario. I'm not.
Are you rooting for them?
Let me say this. If Dallas wasn't pertinent, I would feel there'd be a void. So I actually want them to be pertinent.
That means, so you are rooting for Dallas?
To a certain degree, I am. Okay. To a certain degree, I am. All right, let me go over here to ask this next question, because over the weekend, I know you guys all have your teams you follow, and I'm not the one that's going to tell you, who to cheer for and who you thought had the best game. But I just went and picked arbitrarily 4 teams closer to what I call stories that probably didn't have the prediction of the outcome this week. And those 4 teams, or the 4 games, was Detroit versus Kansas City, Tennessee versus Baltimore, New Orleans versus Chicago, and Dallas versus San Francisco. What was the most impressive NFL victory in week 2? And when I say impressive, you have to think of all the factors that come into play here, because I'll say this. I know Kansas City wasn't that good coming off the first game, but I never thought they would get down to just 3 points. Tennessee, I actually was going to say a slam dunk on with the Baltimore. Baltimore was going to run roughshod. I thought it was going to be a closer game with Chicago, New Orleans, and Dallas and San Francisco. They predicted a close game. Now, which of these teams, Mario, was most impressive in their
I think
work?
Detroit, by far.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it because Stafford had a lot of yards and 4 touchdowns?
It was the overwhelming nature of the defeat.
Okay.
Even though Kansas City had a bad opening game, no one really expected them to do 2 in a row.
Right.
So part of this story is the seemingly just falling apart, just totally collapse of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
And also the emergence of Detroit as a true contender. Now, of honorable mention as an impact game is, you have 2 that are really, I don't think the Dallas-San Francisco game is as impactful, even though it's important to note.
All right.
For different reasons. For one, I think it's more impactful what it says about San Francisco.
Right.
That how consistent they've become as a team.
Yeah.
Even in losing,
right.
They are not the same team.
Correct.
They are just not the same team. They're coming at you. They're playing different kinds of balls. So you got to give props to San. So really the story, the Harbaugh was what San Francisco did and how well they bringing it. In terms of New Orleans with Chicago, it still was still the same old stuff, even though it was good. New Orleans looked great, rallied like they did. Chicago showed promise, but once again faltered in the same old areas.
Right.
But that second game, wow.
That's the surprise
That's the
game.
2 that you got to compare, because Tennessee, everybody would have thought that Baltimore was going to mop them up, beat them up.
Right.
This is why I hate that we don't have the dish.
Right.
Because I want to see what happened in this.
Right.
And they didn't do it with runnings per se, right?
Right.
They did it with passing more. Well, they've had, because at least when I looked in, they weren't getting the same yardage from the running.
Rushing.
Yeah, the rushing
from
yardage.
Johnson. Let me say this. The reason why I thought it was interesting about you picked the game I picked. San Francisco, Dallas, even if San Francisco would have won the game, I wouldn't have been that shocked, because Harbaugh brings a certain philosophy and scheme. And that shows you the difference between Harbaugh and Singletary. I'm sorry to say that, but he brings in a philosophy. The other part is that, New Orleans, Chicago, that's Breeze against Jay Cutler. That's a no-brainer. I'm sorry. As much as Chicago can rein the defense, if you're not bringing number 1, number 2, and you're not smacking them, and you're giving Breeze that much time, I actually picked New Orleans. I just thought it was going to be a little bit closer. Detroit, Kansas City. I thought it was going to be a win by Detroit. I didn't know it was going to be like coveting the next week's score.
Right.
Plus points, and he says Kansas City will still lose.
50 points. You don't even see that in damn near 50 points.
Hasselbeck brought something different to Tennessee, which is saying if you bring in a quarterback, we're not here to give our running back 2,000 yards rushing. I'm a throwing quarterback. The philosophy of this team is that you brought me in to have a quarterback and push the ball downfield, not to sit up and throw screens. And I think the comparison I'm going to look at Hasselbeck is how he transitioned from Seattle to come over to Tennessee, and then compare what's the difference between McNabb going from Washington to Minnesota, and then say, oh, well, Hasselbeck made it work. How come he was able to adopt to the philosophy right away and have an impact?
That's what I'm saying. How come some people could do it and do it so well,
right,
whereas others can't?
Yes.
And even though it's not part of this list, I have to loop back again.
Right.
Vince Young didn't even get the chance to come off the bench for the Philadelphia Eagles. Instead, it was Kafka, or Kotka, whatever, who looked. So I have to throw that out because you guys make so much of Tim Tebow being third string.
Right.
I think Tim Tebow and Vince Young are sitting on the same bench seat. Okay,
right. And I'll say this: I won't even get into as much with Tebow because I just think when it universally is accepted, it's hard to listen to. Well, the rationales you need having been there. I think it's so clear cut. So clear cut and dry that they want him to be successful. I truly believe everybody wants him to be successful in a lot of ways, and not because he was overhyped. I just think they deal with mechanics and a style of play. Look at Michael Vick, and I'll say this: Michael Vick has a better arm. He knows the philosophy of the schemes. He knows a lot, and he's faster. He's not as big, of course. And look at the trouble he's having. So if you deal with the mechanics and everything, I said, so what I'm saying is that you have to put Tebow in a position of saying, well, if he has all these skills, why not use him? It's a no-brainer. Something's happening. But I'm going to give him time. I will sit there and say, and I still think he's a couple of years away because to me, the part that they're not giving up is that how much can you leverage him for? Which team will he start for? They say, well, you know what? This is how much it costs to get this number one draft pick. Who's going to pay the value of a number one draft pick?
I think today, too, Vic, they just are much harder on having a certain type of quarterback. And I think, would you think Steve Young will get a break today?
I think Steve Young, I think the part that's more, no one's questioning what he does on the field, but I think there's also this thing that happens in the when it's off the field, and that has a lot to do with it. It kind of reminds me of Randy Moss. Moss was more. No one look. They thought Moss took off a lot of time on the field. I'm not sure. I've seen times where it just seemed like he was just running through his routes now and then. But most of what came from him was what he did off the field as well. I think Vince Young has to deal with that issue. I would like to hear people coming to bat. I would like to hear the players talk about it, and not the analysts, not me, not anyone else. I don't know. I just think Vince has something that precedes him. When you have a winning record and they still don't put you in the start. I throw my hands up and go, what's missing? I mean, if he can play that well, what's missing?
That's the discussion we had. I said, obviously, confidence in him because they don't have. He is third string.
Is he better? And would he be better on the Minnesota Vikings than Donovan McNabb?
I don't know. I bet they're wondering.
Would you take Vince Young, if you had the choice right now, and you say, here's somebody maybe about several years younger and got fresher legs and scrambles and has an accurate arm, but you still take Donovan first?
I'd have to have a little more information. I thought Donovan, I wasn't as convinced that his skills had really gone so, but I'm on the verge of becoming convinced.
Yeah.
I don't see them as even comparable in leadership skills, and that's why it's a harder thing for me to say.
Okay.
I don't know what Vince Young is coming into a situation that's stressful.
Right.
That's the thing. He came into a previous situations I thought that was better, even though you could argue the coach didn't want him and all that stuff.
Right.
He still came into a situation that was more receptive to him than these.
Well, you know, here's the part where you say you give him a lot of chances. If Rex Grossman, which we even joked about, and I can turn around and say, hey, you know, I was somewhat wrong about him. If you could come off and say it's been 3 years and I'm coming and making an immediate impact right now on the team, Washington, that McNabb used to be on, and then McNabb goes to Minnesota, 39 yards the first week, and then this week no TDs and maybe a little under 200 yards passing.
But no, he was 18 of 30, I thought, this time.
No, I'm saying his yardage output, no TDs.
Yeah, but 200 some. It was a decent. At least on the numbers look decent.
Yeah, but you got to get TDs. You know that, Mario. You know, I'm trying.
Well, to me, that's the offensive coordinator again, more than just depend. They look like they have themselves set up to be a running team, which I was thinking was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And run a more controlled, disciplined offense.
Right.
If Donovan could run that.
Well, he's got. Like everybody said, this is this year. He is 0-2 in the hole. And you know, just to get to 500, it's going to take something. Right. So let's go over to what we call the 0-2 teams. And I have a question here. Which NFL 0-2, 0-2 teams will make the playoffs? We talked about don't get happy about the teams that are 2-0, but there's some obvious teams here that may be 0-2, undefeated, that you say, I'm going to pick two that will be in the playoffs. And for those who may not see, I'll just go ahead and call off the names. New York Giants, St. Louis Rams, which they'll play our Monday Night Football game tonight, Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers. Wow. Unbelievable.
So you're asking who's going to be the wild card team.
Hey, look, it may be more than that. I'll say this. No one saw St. Louis Rams coming last year, so I'm holding court right now. Also, Seattle Seahawks, Miami Dolphins, Indianapolis Colts, and Kansas City Chiefs. You have to pick 2 teams that will make the playoffs that start at 0-2. Because if you can actually get happy, Kansas City proved it last year that you can have a fast start and get there. Denver disproved it the year before that you can start 8-0 and not make the playoffs.
I think it's New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers.
New York Giants and Carolina Panthers. Here's the part that makes it difficult.
Wild card.
Said, well,
New York has done it before. Coughlin has proven.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm saying it's based on one who had to accept that he's done it over and over again. But I thought they were out of it. He's proven that he knows how to adjust.
Right.
You have to give it to Tom Coughlin. He's a survivor. Now then it gets a little deeper.
He sure
You know
does.
what? The Carolina Panthers, I think, to me right now are proven, at least as you see the other players respond, that they're the darling of the league, maybe. Because you sort of almost hear other players sort of rooting for Cam Newton.
Yeah.
At least they're not on his ass. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Woodson and some of the other people, you hear the people who played against him who really say, watch out for him. He's going to be, he has it. He's solid. He's this, he's that.
Right.
So, no, I'm going to go on Vick and just go there only because I think I got to go with the dream. Okay. I got to go with the dream. I got to go the fantasy dream of this year.
Cam Newton?
It's Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, okay. You know what? I mulled over this, and I sat there and I said, look at the divisions that have the best teams. And if you go to New York Giants, I said, man, you guys got Washington, you got Dallas. Oh, man, okay. Maybe New York Giants I would pick because they can easily turn around. They got senior leadership. They're not young. They can do it. St. Louis Rams, because of the division, I said, you guys got a chance, although you look really bad in the game against Philadelphia. Minnesota, this is the hard part. I think they got a decent defense. I think they can hold court, low-scoring games, but they got to convert some offense. And they're in that Green Bay, Chicago division. So I'm hard. Carolina Panthers,
isn't that
of
bad?
Course.
They only have to be okay, they may make it because they just have to come in.
Right. See, I don't know. See, it's so hard. And then I went down, I said Miami Dolphins. Well, that's Jets and New England. You can't touch that one. See, it's getting hard right now.
Okay. No. But I'm just saying, I don't think Miami can do it at all. Right. And I just don't think they can. I just don't think it.
What? And it gets worse. Indianapolis Colts, who just lost to Cleveland.
No.
All right. And now you got Kansas City.
And it's not just because of quarterbacking issues.
Right. I think, who's the team I think if they wake up and just realize that last year was not a fluke and that they take it seriously and bring what they brought last year, I would say Kansas City would have one of the good chances. I think they just had that young talent and they don't know how to sustain it. If they wake up.
That's like if the Rams wake up.
Right. So New York Giants and St. Louis for me. I got to go.
Yeah, maybe I should even take the Giants because, when you're taking it's just that division. Man,
I know, it's so hard.
That is a hard division, but it's not going to, it's just, wow. See? That's going to be a tight race.
Right. Yeah, it's not, we're not saying the teams are not good. The problem is they're bundled with other teams in the division that are already got a head start
and they can and I see more upsets of each other in that same. For example, it's because of Washington's play.
Right,
they're ripe to upset people.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know now. I don't know.
I know. All right. Well, let me go on over here because we had a long session here. I want to get to Do You Believe so we can just follow up and close out on this and move ahead. In our Do You Believe, of course, you see that wonderful picture, Cam Newton, who basically, a quote from Aaron Rodgers says, I do not want to come and play this guy again. Based on what he experienced, even though the guy threw 3 interceptions. He scores a victory as a rookie record for having another 400-plus yard game. Now, here's the question. Before we even get there and illuminate on that, let me just go into the first Do You Believe. We had a recent boxing match, which really was a recent boxing antics match. I call it where they overhype it to mean something, and I said, you guys are getting too close up into the game with this Mayweather-Ortiz fight. You mean
the Victor Ortiz's headbutt of Floyd Mayweather, who then waited for the ref to do the
save him,
barely count into the starting
just try to save him.
You know how I guess they start the round. The ref barely signaled the start.
Yeah,
and so Mayweather just turned and clocked him twice. Right,
should clock him. Look, you guys want to follow cheap shots? Like I said. They always say this. It's like on the football field. most of the time the referees catch the reaction of somebody who did something previously. And so the part that makes me laugh is that I sit there and say, okay, let's just say that the ref says, oh, you shouldn't have clocked him. He was going to lose anyway.
Well, no, yeah, right. But the rule is you're supposed to protect yourself.
Right.
And it's just like in karate when you bow,
right.
But you keep your eyes on the person. You don't duck your eyes down.
Yeah, go watch Bruce Lee. Something where you never take your eyes off. I know I'm dating myself on this one. All right. Here's the do you believe? Do you believe Victor Ortiz earning $2.5 million in defeat by Floyd Mayweather was worth the sideshow antics and a fourth-round knockout as a pay-per-view customer?
No, the customers don't like it, but I'm sure Victor Ortiz liked it. They got paid for that bullshit fight.
Look, the part that if they had 5-1 odds that Mayweather's going to win this fight, you don't think everybody said you're terribly faster than this man? I mean, you're way faster than this man, and speed neutralizes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but they don't care.
I know. Okay, all right. Let me just go on.
It's boxing.
It's boxing. Look, it was a waste. But I think people who had all their parties for 4 rounds, I feel sorry for the people who went to the kitchen to get a second round of food and missed the fight. All right, let's go to the next Do You Believe? Do you believe Carolina Panther quarterback Cam Newton's rookie record-setting 2-game total yards performance is tainted with a winless team? They say now 900 yards and you don't win.
No.
It's not tainted?
No.
You celebrating it?
Yeah.
Will you?
I know celebration may be a strong word. I'm acknowledging that it's very strong.
Would you remember this record? Because none of us knew about this record until he made the record.
It still is a memorable start and a very noticeable adjustment to the team. It's hard to get. That's the part that's hard for all of us.
Yeah.
Because nobody expected that. He seems to be very coachable.
Yeah.
But he's proving it. It's amazing. It's solid. It's very solid.
Let me say this, Cam. I celebrate what you're doing because early in the season when they were going through the combines, everybody said it didn't look good. Here's this man, he stepped up, and everybody sees it. They say you have the it factor. And I'm saying it's not fair. Everybody's going to throw, how come Tebow can't
Well, he
do
paid
that?
for his own training camp. I mean, he hired a pro to help him just to adjust to the NFL.
Right.
Oh,
so,
come on. He's about business.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Tim Tebow wasn't as prepared?
No, Tebow worked hard, too.
So is it the if factor if this man sits here and says...
They have a different natural skill set.
Right. And look, he's stronger.
Yeah, taller,
Three touchdowns are what they call decision-making. And if he's in his first couple of games, and he's on a team that he needs help around, and he's outputting more yardage than everybody else, even up to Tom Brady.
Yeah, but the offensive line is playing hella good.
Yes, they are. They're getting motivated.
They're playing hella good. They're
motivated
him.
Yeah, they do. Look, nobody thought. They said this. They said they're going to draft this guy, and they need a lot of help around him. They're making the money's worth, but unfortunately, they can't lose 2 more games. If they go 0-4, it's going to be a problem.
They go 0-4. To me, they're already showing that where they're headed, and I think that the Carolina, it's going to be. I bet you. That is the best rejuvenation of a football franchise with an 0-2 that you've seen in some time.
Right.
I bet you, in terms of sales, tailgating, from what I understand.
Right.
These are areas that are known to get behind their teams.
Yeah.
So I bet you, Vic, I don't know, but I've heard that the fans are just totally, jazzed about having him. It's giving them something to hold for.
They can build on this. If they look at the model example of Detroit, when they got the mobilizing force of Ndamukong Suh, that started, even though they had Matthew Stafford coming right behind that, so it was a 1-2 punch. We have a defensive monster and an offensive weapon, so put those together and then draft wisely. Carolina can do the same thing and probably get more out of Cam because his production is wicked. He's a beast right now. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to go to our last Do You Believe? Do you believe Lexi Thompson, 16 years of age, becoming the youngest to win an LPGA event over the weekend, said her first wish is to hang with Justin Bieber for one day and play with his hair?
I believe it. What else do you want at 16? Those are wonderful goals for a 16-year-old. I used to want to be a superhero. I was trying to pick my superpowers. So everybody has stuff they want to B.
You
I'm still hoping that superhero powers to come through one day.
Well, you know what? You did a wonderful analogy. And the one thing I like about this man, he does a good job of getting it wrong. No, she did not say anything about Justin Bieber. She has probably...
Cosmo Quiz 805.
Hey, she just... like I said, 16 years old, she probably already has fans that she says, he's getting old for me right now. You know, at 16, maybe something different.
That's right. He's an old man.
Hey, you guys, I'm done with my Do You Believe? The new sports segment. We had to speed through it. Here we go.
That's Victor Allen, his own special neo-urban look at sports. Hot, sexy. Victor Allen's new sports. Tune in daily and get your sports fix. Yeah.